The Nigerian social media space was originally dominated by Facebook, but it was not as engaging as Twitter was. So Twitter sort of took over amongst the youthful, people, and as such, because of the way it was set up, because of the way the platform was, it was very, very engaging and very easy for people to have conversations back and forth about various issues, from politics to social issues, leaked news, rape, and all sorts of things. And of course, naturally, football became a very, very big part of those discussions. So eventually it had to go beyond just being a social media type of thing. It had to become a put your foot where your mouth is type of thing. So people had to come off social media and meet in real life and actually, have a football match of sorts and, settle whatever differences they had between each other. And that was basically how the TPL was born. This is Africa.
Okay, the TPL stands for the Twitter Premier League in full, and it's basically a conversion of football-loving Nigerians on social media to actually, put their love for football to test and see if they can actually play football as much as they banter and talk about football. But that's how we started, but it has grown beyond that now into a proper league of sorts. It's received a lot of international attention, and it's just more than it's an avenue for people to just have fun, play football, and interact.
A couple of guys on Twitter, met up and agreed to have a one-day event where they would form teams that would be modeled after their, the teams they supported in real life. For example, the Guns. One of the teams from the TPL, the Guns, was modeled after Arsenal, because they are the Gunners. And then Manchester United fans had the Devils, the Red Devils, and so on and so forth. So it was supposed to be a one-day event. They would meet up somewhere, have a football tournament of sorts, and winner takes all the bragging rights. And that was how the first edition of the TPL came to hold.
The first edition of the TPL was on May 29 last year, 2014. And then we only had 4 teams at the TPL, and we added 4 more teams after that, and we've had 2 female teams join the TPL as well.
After the first edition of the TPL was held, subsequently the impact on social media was crazy. Fans were going nuts about the TPL, and so the organizers decided to have the second edition. And by the third edition, they were already talking about sponsors, and media houses were covering the whole thing, and big brands in Nigeria wanted to be partners with the teams in the TPL.
The organizers and the workers that actually put in time and effort every day. There's no day off. I've not had a day off from TPL since May 29 last year. Every day I wake up, there's always something to do or stuff like that. So the reason why we've grown that far is goodwill from a lot of friends and sponsors, but also dedication of people that have been in TPL, and as well as the support of the teams themselves in the TPL. They've all come together to make it that big platform.
And afterwards, the TPL teams also started having their own following. They set up their own media, their own Twitter accounts, and they had started to build a core following of fans around them.
Honestly, if you asked me 18 months ago, if someone told me that TPL would be on CNN or on BBC, it was not my. I can't say I planned. I didn't engineer the moves. It just happened.
By the time we started to get to the 4th and the 5th edition, international media houses like the BBC and the Guardian UK were already talking about the TPL. It had become a phenomenon. After the 5th edition, the organizers of the TPL announced the 6th edition. Now the idea was, because it was December, it was supposed to hold on December 19th. People that wanted to be a part of it but were not based in Nigeria, probably schooling or for whatever reasons were not in the country, would be able to partake in that particular edition.
You've been to 4 editions, right? And there was a 5th edition earlier this year in September. So obviously the teams had gained a lot of momentum, recognition, and awareness, and there were a lot of brands that were willing to sponsor the teams. So most of these teams had already signed and locked up contracts with certain brands, finance houses, FMCGs, telecoms companies, etc.
And people were really looking forward to it. The fans, the teams were, motivating and pushing their, followers to, spur them on and count down to the big day.
Initially, all we wanted to do was just play football, right? So the plan was to get a venue, get the teams, play sports, and then have our friends and family just come around like a picnic, so to say.
Suddenly, news of a rift between the original teams of the TPL and the TPL management as a whole started to surface on Twitter. At first, it surfaced as rumors, and people initially dismissed them.
We had an issue at TPL 4 where I didn't know a team was talking to a sponsor, and I was talking to the sponsor, and the sponsor should have been upfront to tell us, look, there's a team here. And we had an agreement with the sponsor, and they also went to another agreement with the team. We weren't aware.
An issue came up where the other league decided to add 6 new teams to the league without consulting the old teams, right? Letting us know we're adding 6 new teams and the league is going to now go this way instead of the traditional way we're used to having the league.
Because when TPL was started, there were just 4 teams, like I said, and Ife and myself were the initial people who started TPL. So he woke up and said, look, Femi, he was on the Blues team, I was on the Gun team. So I said, look, can we get other guys from both teams so that we that are behind TPL, there's a fair representation of every team so that no team feels let down. So we went to Red Devils and got Sioye, he's on the board now, and Dimeji, who is now the CEO of SociaLiga. And obviously, if the 4 reps of the 4 teams are on the board of the league, then I think that's fair representation of every person in the league. But when we added 2 teams last year, the Cubs and the Saints, we didn't change that structure. Whether by oversight or we didn't think, I don't know. But for some reason, we just didn't add any of them to the board. And I think that's where I've sat down to realize, okay, that was a mistake. I should have.
Right. So after that, there were back and forth discussions between both parties. Okay, we can't do this. We want it to go this way. Okay, why don't the new teams play a sort of playoff and then join the old teams who already have structure, who already have a followership, and already have a standing in the league, to say. And then after the discussions went on for too long, we decided that we had put in a lot of resources, time, money, and we had gotten commitments from our sponsors, and we had made commitments to our sponsors on appearing at a main event on the 19th of December, right? Looking at all these factors, bringing it together, it just couldn't work.
And some things went wrong with what the team did with the sponsor, but I realized they did not go to the team directly, and the mails came straight to us that, look at what your team did. They didn't put our logo properly, they misrepresented our brand, and the flack was on TPL for something I had no idea about. So I said, okay, look, so that I don't want to be dragging sponsors with anybody, even the teams. I won't like it if you're talking to one sponsor and another team goes there and there's this clash. When you're talking to a sponsor or you sign an agreement with the sponsor, can you just give us the name? Send it to us. Let me know that you already have a deal with Pulse Nigeria. So it means if I'm going to Pulse Nigeria, I'm already aware that you are there, or I don't go to Pulse Nigeria again. And no matter how many times we sat down and tried to explain why that was, they felt TPL wants to take their sponsors for them. And
when we announced our withdrawal from the competition, it was a sensational headline, right? And everybody tried to find out what was going on, why did they break out, what went wrong. And we issued a statement to clear the air, right? And we decided to form the SociaLiga.
All of a sudden, out of the blue, the SociaLiga was born.
You know what? We have fans, we have our sponsors already. It might be better for both parties to part. We're still friends, obviously, with the people in the old league. We still play friendlies with each other. We still see each other, public functions, at weddings, at the club, and we still say hello to each other. It's not a cold war. It's not a rivalry.
No beef. No.
So So we just had to do what we had to do, and we had to set the event for the 19th, right? Because we had people who had booked tickets to come and watch. We had players who don't live in Lagos, who some stay in Port Harcourt, Abuja, who had also scheduled trips around that period. So it sort of made sense for us to.
And we had sponsors' commitments also.
We had sponsors' commitments also for the 19th. So the SociaLiga, basically, it's a league. It's going to span over a period of a couple of months, say 3 to 4 months, of the 5 teams playing in different conferences, the mainland conference
And the island.
and the island conference.
So basically the idea is we're 5 teams now, but we're going to add 3 teams. So the league kicks off in February, late February, for the football league, male football league. So we have 4 island teams, 4 mainland teams. That island conference, mainland conference. We play amongst ourselves. That's both conferences, and in each conference. So that's like 10 matches for each. That's like 10 matches for each team. So at the end of the day, we now have a main tournament. So first from each conference, they play each other to determine who comes first. Second from each conference, determine who comes third and fourth, and so on and so forth. So it's going to span like 3 to 4 months, like you said, and it's going to be fun, different from the norm. So it's going to be like a proper league.
Moving forward, both the SociaLiga and the TPL will be holding on the same day, December 19th, 2015. Although at separate venues. The TPL will be holding at Campus Mini Stadium, and the SociaLiga will be holding at Children's International School, Lekki Phase 1.
That's TPL 6 on December 19th. It is going to be at campus as usual, and for the first time in a very long time in TPL, we have a lot of things already arranged way before the TPL time. There's no last minute rush, there's no panic, there's no I'm not having sleepless nights about TPL. Basically, we've gotten to a level where the structure is becoming a lot more better. The platform is a bit more focused now. We know exactly what we want to do with TPL. So this TPL 6 it's an opportunity for us to actually just see, our, let's say, 16 months of hard work come into effect at this TPL. So it's
Basically, the event on the 19th is not the actual league, right? It's just like a pilot event, officially announcing the league, and fans just come around, play football. The other games apart from football, there's a FIFA 16 tournament. We have the players already who, they trash talk on the timeline, and it's time for you to come and back it up and say, okay, you say you can play, come and play, and there's a prize involved. Obviously, there's going to be 8-ball, snooker.
Yeah, snooker, table tennis.
It's going to be table tennis. It's just a fun day.
Bouncy castle for people that want to relive their youth or their
Childhood, rather.
So many things to look forward to. So just for our fans, just to appreciate them for all the support they've given us over the years or over the year. Just come and have fun, and it's completely free. So, like you said, there's no beef with anybody.
As it stands, the TPL was successful for a number of factors. However, right now there is direct competition. What remains to be seen is if the TPL will be able to hold off the competition posed by SociaLiga, or if both platforms will be able to stand independently and excel independently of themselves. Right now, both platforms are marketing different packages to the fans, but it is yet to be seen which of them is going to come out top. Whichever one you decide to attend, see you on December 19th.